Regional Vice President, Mr. Corey Anderson. Mr. Corey Anderson, thank you so much for your time here with us.
I appreciate that tremendously, and I have so much respect for you, Melissa. You and Jeff, you guys have inspired so many people. Ladies and gentlemen, you'll come to find out that ACN is a business like none you have ever seen before. We are more than business partners and friends. We really become family. And I had the privilege of watching Mr. Jeff Street and Miss Melissa Street get involved, Mrs. Melissa Street get involved in the business and just do unbelievable things. And sometimes people think that if you're sponsored by a senior vice president, or if you you have a relationship with the senior vice president, that gives you an edge. Listen, the majority of the people throughout the Rockstar organization, they tend to be an echo of the leadership. But Jeff and Melissa, they have a voice. They are unbelievable trainers. She talked about those events where we do have 10, 15, 20,000 in attendance. We have people from all over the world conduct trainings, and theirs is always the best. They have been top producers, not only as regional vice presidents, but as regional directors as well, month in, month out, year in and year out. And I'm a straight shooter, guys. Tonight, you'll kind of see that. I'll give it to you as it is. You couldn't be working with anyone better. I mean, anyone better. When I think of those two, I think of the word or the term relevant. And that's who they are. That is the reason that they are leading ACN's events, leading our Saturday training events. And so I'm honored to be able or to be asked to speak to each and every one of you, because I know how they feel about their team, and they are this close to the position. Notice I didn't say far. They are that close to the position of senior vice president. And so let's go to work and help them make that happen. And look, I want to commend all of you as well. We get recognized in ACN for what a lot of people do. I know that there are many leaders on this line. I know Roberta's on the line. You know, I'm not going to call all the names, but there are many leaders on this line, ladies and gentlemen, that are doing unbelievable things in ACN. You can't put in thousands of customers every single month without a group of leaders. So hats off to the entire Rockstar Nation. And Mr. Street asked you guys for me to give you some perspective about what's happened for me and literally what you need to do to win in ACN. And I'm going to talk to you all like we're partners, because we'll win together or we'll fall apart. And so it's not just about what happens for me and my organization. I want ACN to succeed on a whole. And so you'll recognize that I'm coming from a place, number one, of experience, but of caring. Because if it ruffles your feather a little bit, then that means that I'm trying to get some growth. I'm trying to get some movement. And I looked at ACN back in 1995. So it's pre-internet, pre-cell phone. I tell people that I got in the 1900s when we came to meeting on horses, because that's how long 25 years ago or 24 years ago seems. And it was the founder's vision of what could be. I've always wanted to be happy, wealthy, charitable, and free, and help other people accomplish that level of success. And when I saw ACN, I saw that. Now, for those of you who know me and those of you who don't, I know that's an altruistic ideal. Happy, wealthy, charitable, and free. But it's exactly what you desire, because the opposite is to be sad, poor, selfish, and in bondage. And none of us desire those things. So I was approached by a friend of mine when I was 25. I thought I was going to play pro ball. It didn't happen. Didn't give up on the idea of being wealthy. However, working in corporate America was the furthest thing from that lifestyle I had envisioned. I mean, I was truly unfulfilled. And so a friend of mine who I grew up with, we played ball together. He was a broker on Wall Street. He called me and he was excited. He started talking about that lifestyle that we talked about as kids. So I flew to New York, took a look at ACN, and at the end of the day, it made sense. Now, mind you, it was long distance phone service that we offered then. However, it had nothing to do with long distance phone service. Our founders enrolled me in the vision of where we are today. See, I learned from Dr. Miles Monroe, sometimes the best way to see is to close your eyes. Some people only saw long distance in the 90s, as opposed to being the Amazon of the utilities arena. So I left New York City excited, on fire, came back to I'm from Toledo, Ohio. I was living in Cleveland at the time, and no one believed that this could happen. Mind you, we didn't have GPS, no internet, no texting, no cell phones. It was about the vision that I saw. And what vision was that? An opportunity to be happy, wealthy, charitable, and free, and to help others do the same thing. I wasn't excited about long distance phone service. I was excited about impacting someone's life. And so I hit the position of regional director relatively quickly in about 3.5 months. And it used to require 1,000 separate customers at that time. Like today, it's 600 points. Vivint is 8 points. IDCO is 8 points. So if someone was to go out and acquire 80 services, they could go regional director. Then it was 1,000 separate homes even. But it wasn't about what it took to be a regional director. The founders helped us to see that we didn't have to work for anyone else. They helped us to see that we could be there with our families. We could impact our communities. We could do all the things that we truly desired, because with residual income, you can have time and money together. But the greatest thing ACN affords you is the ability to impact someone else's life. So in about 16 months, I hit the position of regional vice president. And, our life has been magical. That's the word that I would like to use. We built teams of tens of thousands of independent business owners. Our team has acquired hundreds of thousands of customers throughout the world over the time that we've been in the business. And the ACN co-founders have always done what they've said they would do. So they gave us hope, ladies and gentlemen. So what I'm going to do today is to talk to those of you who are brand new, and to those of you who have been involved in the business for a period of time. It's for a new IBO, and then for someone who truly desires to be a leader. And keep this in mind, ACN is an art and a science. When I think of Jeff and Melissa, I think of those hard and soft skills that they have that makes them so great and relates to everyone. You're going to need to understand that this is an art and a science, and grow to be able to operate that way. Now, the science is our system. Rockstar has been #1 probably for the last decade. And so there's a system that's in place. The art is your self-development and personal growth. And that's going to be a must as well. And some people say, oh, I don't want to grow. Well, Mr. Todd Stottlemyre, a good friend of mine, RVP Platinum in ACN, he won 3 World Series championships. He said that when he looked at ACN, he told his wife, Erica, I'm not looking to grow. They're talking about personal growth. I played for some of the greatest coaches in the world. He said he grew more in ACN than any other locker rooms he was in when he was with the Yankees, or when his dad coached for the Yankees, or when he coached or played anywhere in the world. So each and every one of us, we can grow. As a matter of fact, accept it right now. The minute you stop growing, you start dying. Now, there's something else that's an intangible that I want to talk to you about, because the information won't matter if you don't really internalize this. In order to really succeed in ACN, you are going to have to be grateful, and you're going to need to be humble. Demonstrate gratitude with everything that you receive. One of our co-founders, Mr. Tony Cooper, says, look at everything as, or look at this opportunity as anything above nothing is a gift. So be grateful that you have a great support system and great leadership. Don't look to see what they can do for you. See how you can contribute. And then remain humble, because what Jeff and Melissa Street understand can change your family's legacy or lineage forever. Now, as far as those of you who are brand new or relatively new to ACN, if you want to get your business up and running, you want it to explode, then you need 2 things: excitement and edification. I know it sounds simple. My goal isn't to be complicated and deep, ladies and gentlemen. My goal is to help you succeed in the manner in which you desire to, in the simplest manner as we can. So, why excitement and edification? Well, first, excitement attracts. You look at the people that you know who are excited, that have a great personality, a great attitude. They're attractive. It has nothing to do with any of their physical attributes. It has to do with their energy. So you want to look, people who are negative, they repel. Imagine it in a relationship that you're in. Would you love to be in a relationship with someone who is simple and exciting, or boring and complicated? Quick, look, like Melissa said, pull over. So excitement attracts. And all you have to do as a new person is get people on the Zoom presentations, get people in front of the information. So if you're not attracting people to the presentation, then you just need to check your excitement level. I learned from Mr. Greg Provenzano, our president, a long time ago, 90% of winning is being excited. So excitement, it will attract people. And the second thing that excitement does, it influences action. Listen, Tony Robbins taught me, in any interpersonal interaction, the person most committed to their state will always influence the other person. Ever came home in a good mood and your spouse or significant other, maybe they weren't? If they were more committed to that mood, your mood got affected. So if you're excited, you can influence people to take action when they normally wouldn't. See, in ACN, you don't have to be a great salesperson. You have to become a good leader. And there's a book that you can read if you really want to become a good leader. It's called How to Win Friends and Influence People. And I'm telling you right now, your excitement, it will attract people and it will influence their action. Now, secondly, you need to become good at edification. It is a must, ladies and gentlemen, that you learn to edify the leadership that you work with. See, I told you humility is important. If you always come across as the deal, then you will never build a successful team. But if you become great at edification, then your business will explode. Number one, you give your mentor or whoever is working with you leverage to move your prospect. Please jot that down. So you've been trying forever to move that person, but the law of familiarity stops them from taking the action you want them to take. They look at you as someone that they know and have a relationship with. So what you have to do is get out of the way and edify someone else. That will give that person leverage to get your prospect to a presentation, to enroll them into the opportunity, and even to have them take the action that you want them to take. See, we can enroll people and equip them if you provide us with the best. Now, that's another thing that edification provides. It is what actually creates value for the opportunity. See, you all's system is very simple. You're saying to someone, you're open to making more money, aren't you? Then you tell them why you're doing the business, who you're doing it with, and how they can hear about it. But if you don't get good at edification, when you ask if they're open, they know nothing about ACN. When you relate to them and tell them why they're doing it, that's just for them to identify with you. What causes them to see value in ACN is them seeing value in your leadership, and that is on you. So if you become excited and you operate in that manner, and you edify your, look, Jeff and Melissa Street, they should walk on water and glow in the dark. Why? So that they don't have to work so hard to help you enroll people. If you do a great job of edifying them, they can humble themselves, and that person that you're trying to get involved, that person that you want to have take action, they'll be impressed because they're not demonstrating ego. You did all of the edification. Now, the next few minutes I want to share is with those of you who have been involved in ACN for a period of time. I mentioned earlier, you don't have to be a great salesperson in ACN. You have to become a leader. And what do leaders do in ACN? There are tasks that we involve ourselves in: piquing interest, acquiring customers, presenting, promoting, and launching new IBOs. So those are the tasks, but your ultimate responsibility is to find other leaders. And let me give you the definition of a leader that I've used my entire career. One of the founders shared it with me. And if anything I share with you differs from what Mr. and Mrs. Street are sharing with you, ignore what I'm saying. But a leader is someone who produces independent of their upline on a weekly basis. You go find some leaders in ACN and they can change your family's trajectory forever. Ask Pat and Mike Mazer what their lives are like because of Jeff and Melissa Street. So for you to find leaders on a daily basis, number one, you got to pique interest daily. The watchword here will be daily. If you don't share the opportunity with anyone, you have no one to talk to. And that's something you have control over. Second thing, you need to present the opportunity daily. Mind you, for those of you who are relatively new, excitement and edification. Promote for our Zoom events. Promote for your upline to do the presentation. For those of you who desire to be leaders, you need to be presenting. Why? Because you got to produce independent of your upline on a weekly basis. Now listen, Jeff and Melissa Street, they look at it like they have to produce daily, independent of their upline. You guys may not be at that point yet, but you definitely can put in customers and independent business owners each week. So you're going to need to peak, you're going to need to present. The third thing that you're going to need to do is actually recruit some people. See, we don't get recognized for activity. We get recognized for production. You want to find some leaders? Don't just be happy with activity. I talked to some people, I did some presentation. Be accountable to the bottom line as any business owner is. Now, the fourth thing that you are going to need to do is drive momentum. What do I mean when I say drive momentum? Very simple. Work with the last person that comes into your organization until you find a leader. So the system doesn't break down. See, I know what Jeff and Melissa Street are sharing with you all is exactly what you need to do to go SVP. But sometimes the breakdown comes because what's shared with you doesn't make it to the people on your team. So what you need to do as a leader is work with the last person that came in until you find a leader. And then once you find a leader, connect with the leaders that come into that person's organization. They can handle the people. You're looking for the next leader. Which brings me to the fifth thing you need to do. After peaking, presenting, recruiting, and driving momentum, you got to find a leader. You got to identify them. How does a leader operate in ACN? They're consistent, they're coachable, and they're committed. They're consistent with their work ethic, whatever it is going to be on a weekly basis, 3 to 5 hours, 5 to 10 hours. They're coachable. They follow the system. And then they're committed. They're not looking for something get rich quick and overnight. And you got to go identify some of those people. And it doesn't matter if you recruit some people, if they're not consistent, coachable, and committed, it's not going to grow. Now, you got sixth thing you need to do is to develop that leader. How do you develop a leader? Well, there are many things that we can go over. If I'm ever asked to speak again, we'll talk about that. But here's the number one thing. You need to expect them to be a leader. You need to expect them to be as good as you or better, because people will live up to or down to your expectations. And our wants show up in our conversations, but our expectations show up in our actions. So if you expect them to be a leader, you're going to treat them that way. You're going to hold them accountable to producing in the manner in which you do. And then the seventh thing you do when it comes to a leader hunt is get out of the way. Let them lead. See, one of the things that I respect about your leadership, they are so confident in who they are. They're looking to produce leader after leader after leader. For those of you who are new, if you remain excited and edified properly, your business is going to take off. For those of you who are developing an ACN, who want to be a leader, I'm giving you the #1 responsibility. That's to find some other leaders. And here's the beauty of it, guys. It's a choice. You choose to lead in ACN. No one will hold you back. And I'll tell you this, our company, look, if you looked at our growth chart, even during this pandemic, it looks just like a hockey stick. It is because our founders' positioning in the industries with the companies that we're partnered with. Look, we know we're headed towards a future with no past. There's no reference point. So one thing I know for sure, that if you choose to lead, you be an entrepreneur in this space, be responsible, follow through on the things that I shared with you. Of course, keep safe. 3 months, 6 months, 12 months from now, your story will be, I went regional director, I went regional vice president. My life changed during the pandemic, and I can't wait to hear that testimony. So with that, I'm going to turn the training back over to Mr. or Mrs. Melissa Street. You guys know how much I admire and respect you and Jeff. So you guys don't take your leadership for granted, because they can help you get to where you need to be.